Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, originality is key. It is what's expected in a lot of major franchises out there, like Star Wars, and even Indiana Jones, and that is something that we have seen endlessly, that Kathleen Kennedy has put to ruin, and really has no care in the world about originality, and just really kind of does the worst thing possible, and presents the worst case scenario. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support, and let's jump right into the subject. Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland right now are really focused on dismantling George Lucas's Star Wars, his philosophy of the franchise, something that I cherish and hold with my day-to-day life. I love the franchise. The originals, the prequels are key. I even think that Rogue One was a great addition, even though it was, let's be honest, a Lucasfilm/Disney era of Star Wars, and it was handled very well in my opinion. It was the most Star Wars-y movie in my opinion, apart from the sequels and Solo. So looking at everything here, what's really worrisome has a lot to do with what's being applied to the Acolyte series to dismantle George Lucas's philosophy even further by breaking down the prequel trilogy and what Leslye Headland is about to do. We're going to be talking about all of this, about what's happening behind closed doors, and the latest involving the Acolyte and the Acolyte spin-off series, Brie Larson, and a whole lot more. So let's dive into this now. So, with, of course, both Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland preparing to make big announcements for the Acolyte ahead of its planned reshoots for the fall, one major update concerning the Acolyte has much to do with dismantling George Lucas and his Star Wars lore again. Now, one big development right now is that the Jedi God, planned for the Acolyte spin-off show, is aimed to make a new cameo in the Acolyte series portrayed by no other than Brie Larson. However, though Larson will be unavailable during the reshoots, they are planning to digitally create the character based on Larson's design. The plan by Leslye Headland with the Jedi God character, too, is to also make her a very powerful Force user that is far powerful than Anakin Skywalker, as she will be the new Chosen One. However, the update here of this revolves around notes by Leslye Headland for the reshoots that she will be erasing the concept of the use of midichlorians for this character and is going to completely retcon the concept created by George Lucas that Force users do not need midichlorians. Now, in case you guys don't know, midichlorians are a major piece of the puzzle related to Force users, especially with the prequels introducing that, and Leslye is focused on dismantling that too in the Acolyte show and the planned Acolyte spin-off, using this Maeve character as a vessel to prove this concept to work. Now, let me stop here quick. Now, we've talked about this twice this week, about this plan basically for the Jedi God to become a reality in the Acolyte spin-off show, portrayed by no other than Brie Larson, and how that is going to be presented in and of itself, also as a cameo in the Acolyte series now. Now, there are reshoots looming that will be done by this fall, just be aware about that, to shoehorn extra stuff in there that's not needed, that's going to really kind of, I think, make it feel very convoluted, a little too stuffed, with unnecessary garbage, in my opinion. Let's be real. But when you look at stuff like this, not only are they trying to dismantle the prophecy of Anakin Skywalker, but they are also on a path to breaking down the concept of midichlorians in the prequel trilogy and the entire Star Wars franchise. Now, say what you will about midichlorians. I know not everyone supported it by George Lucas back in the day, but it grew upon fans. It really did. And you can't just take that away. It is the branch. It is, I guess you could say, the source of how the Force itself really works, and how Force users can become so powerful. Midichlorian count and all of that is all rooted to Anakin Skywalker specifically, so you can't dismantle that. I don't know if she's crazy or if she knows that this is going to wreck the overall treatment by George Lucas. I'm sure that she's very knowledgeable about that, but again, this is coming from somebody that actually wants nothing to do with George Lucas, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So moving further. Now, Maeve is the Jedi God that will be created by the Wills, aka the Gods, without the use of midichlorians, and completely retcons the concept of the Force as presented in the prequels, and is only going to make things confusing for the entire audience. Now, Brie Larson, however, is described to be ecstatic to join the Acolyte spin-off that is now getting very close to a green light stage by Disney executives that are in favor of Kennedy, that are growing slightly in numbers suddenly for some reason. Headland also wanted nothing to do with Lucas on the set of The Acolyte, and he wasn't even allowed to watch them film, which speaks volumes. Now again, we know that both Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland banished George Lucas. They exiled him off of the set of both Acolyte and Skeleton Crew because two reasons. Skeleton Crew is going to be basically a Marvelized version of the franchise, and number two is that The Acolyte is going to be Star Wars meets Kill Bill, meets The Matrix, meets Frozen, meets Mission Impossible. I know it sounds ludicrous, it really does, but it just goes to show you that they really have no idea what they are doing with this franchise. Either they are so close-minded that they are really that dumb that they don't know what they're doing, or they are doing this 100% intentionally. And I believe it is intentional, it is. It 100% is in my book. I think that, you know, when you look at people like Leslye Headland about what she did on stage, fake crying at Celebration, saying how the expanded universe is something that she grew up with, yet she refuses to even make a show about the expanded universe, it tells you everything about everything. It does. So, anyways, moving to the next thing here, we know that John and Dave are already pre-planning on ways or workarounds to reset those retcons that Leslye Headland is on a course to achieving, and this is going to make things even more confusing. I honestly feel very bad for John and Dave having to go through this because of how divided not just the Star Wars fans are, but how divided Lucasfilm employees really are. You literally have a division between the creators, the employees, the cast, the crew, etc. It is a very big divide over at Lucasfilm, and Disney's aware about that, and that's why Bob Iger wants to slowly and progressively clean up house over at Lucasfilm. It's going to take a 2-year total time frame to make that happen. So, I don't know about you guys, but do you really feel that Leslye Headland is doing this on purpose? Because I do. You would have to be so out of touch with reality to be doing this unintentionally, where it really just comes across as unbelievable. I mean, she has to be doing this on purpose, 100%, because she herself even said that if you look up to George Lucas, if you only expect George Lucas in the room, then that's the misogyny. That's her mindset. She said that on a podcast, by the way, and that is true. So, guys, I would love to hear what all of you have to say about this below in the comments, what you guys have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No, from night to moon, we hear them moans again.